So this chapter will be fairly short and its content and relatively mundane. Really what we're doing here is putting the infrastructure in place to abstract the permanent storage of all our CAD data in anticipation of using other storage methods than just writing out to disk like Amazon S3. We're also creating a little bit of code to read a configuration file so that all the settings for our application are neatly in one place. Okay, let's get into the code. So we're starting off by creating a new module that will have all the methods for storing and retrieving our CAD models and related data from the file system. The idea is that we start with this local file system module, but then we have different models with the same function signatures that can write and retrieve data from Amazon S3 and potentially from other locations as well. So after we got the initial boilerplate code out of the way, we are writing the function to store the CAD files, and that will take the input file path and then where we want to actually write the file to. And again, this will be a location on disk for now, but it could be something else like an Amazon S3 bucket, for example. So we're reading the file here using this promise method, and then we're storing the file using a separate internal function that we are about to write as well. So that internal function is pretty straightforward. It takes the path of where we want to write the data to and the data itself. Then from there we extract the path and the actual name of the file. We creating the directory itself based on like a storage directory that we still have to specify, and then the file path, and then we also have to make sure that the directory actually exists. It could be actually a path of any dev, so we need to write a little function that creates a directory as needed, and then we write the file using the file system functionality. So we still have to create this storage directory variable. Could point to permanent storage, and then we have to write this function that creates our directories that can be of any dev really as needed. I'll just let you watch as I write this function here. There's really no rocket science. And just as a reminder, if you want the completed code, just go to the next chapter, which contains like the snapshot of what we did in the previous one. And let's quickly also write a function that reads the file from the permanent storage, even though we don't really need that in the moment, but I'm going to use that a little bit later as well. So all that remains to be done is to save that file that has just been uploaded using our permanent storage module. We give it the input, which is the directory where the file has been converted, our upload directory, and then we find a suitable name for where to store the data. Conversion data, I picked here, and give it the ID of the item, which will be the directory, and then the actual name of the item as well, and a little bit boilerplate code as well. Pull in our new storage methods here, and obviously this we need to get the ID. We need to save the item first so that we have the internal ID as well. Okay, let's run the server and see if everything worked. So running the server, Switching back to Postman, doing a send, and everything seems to be looking okay. Let's go back to our application. See, we have a new permanent storage directory here, and the file that has been uploaded has now been stored in that directory. Great. So for the rest of the chapter, we create some code to read a configuration file that contains all the settings for the application neatly in one place. Just create that config.js, and for now all we store in there is the mongoDB URI and the path to the permanent storage directory. And in our app.js file, we can now read that configuration file from disk and replace this mongoDB connection path with the configuration setting. Before starting a web server, we then need to pass in that permanent storage directory into that server object as well. And we still have to write that method, of course. Obviously, in order to access the methods in that server object, we need to first add it here with require. And then we can start adding this additional function as well and replace our hard-coded storage path with what's in the configuration file. And we need an equivalent method here, permanent storage, where we're just setting this directory. Okay, and that's the end of this fairly short chapter, and we're going to be moving on to create the actual conversion queue in the next one.